Hello everyone, this is Chino Rodriguez, and today I'm going to be covering DC server, domain controller servers. We're going to promote a server so that you can configure Active Directory and create user accounts and computer accounts and so on and so forth. All right, so we're going to fire up and get started right away. Right here I have basically a server 2008 first time installation. I'm going to go through it. It's a link clone, so that's why everything's going pretty quickly. So I'm going through the out-of-box experience. It's just going to tell me to set up the password, which I'm about to do now. For all that, everyone that knows me can probably hack into my system real easy because they know that my password is I love pizza. All right, so here we are in the server for the first time, right? You're going to get the configuration tasks window. And so this will allow you to do several things, activate Windows, set your time zone. First thing you want to do, if this is a trial version, you're going to want to right click computer, go to properties, and then in the bottom you got 10 days to activate it. And so after you activate the product, you get about 180 days. And you get a little more because you can do the rearm command, SL, MGR, space, TAC, rearm. And I'll cover that in a future video. All right, so now that we activated the product, if I minimize this window, you'll see that we have 180 days to use it. All right, and so in the real world, you would put in your product key here. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and set the time zone. All right, so that's all set. We're gonna go ahead and change the computer name, and we'll name this DC Server 1. Okay, it's gonna need to restart. I'll go ahead and restart it. Shouldn't take long. Okay, wow, that was quick. All right. All right, so now we go in here, we go back to computer, we go to properties, and then we can see the computer name DC Server 1, so it took it. All right, next step we're gonna wanna do is configure the static IP. And so if you go to configure a network, it'll take you to your lower area connection adapter. You're gonna right click, go to properties, and then select TCP/IP version 4 and click properties again. And here you can set it from automatic to static. Basically the difference is you probably already know this, but automatic, it'll look, pull from your DHCP, see if there's an available IP address, and then static, it'll still look, it'll use a designated IP that you have reserved from your DHCP pool. And so let's see which, I think we're in the 10.02.15, but let me double check. All right. So, yep. All right, 10.02.15, so I was right. So we'll do this 10.02.50. All right, and then we're gonna keep the gateway the same. We're gonna keep the virtual manager address, which is 10.022. Ooh. Ah. All right. And then we'll use the Time Warner one, but the DNS is going to change as well, especially when we promote it. I'm going to install the DNS server role through DC Promo. It'll do the Active Directory, plus it'll do the DNS as well. So it'll promote it to a controller, and it'll ask us if we would want the DNS role installed as well. Now, if you don't have it previously installed and you don't want to install it, it'll give you errors. It'll say, hey, DNS is highly recommended. You're going to get problems with your domain controller, yada yada. You can skip it and install it separately, but you're going to get a bunch of error windows. All right, so let's go ahead and continue here real quick. And what is it? Time Warner 209, 47, 61. And then the secondary is basically the same except it ends in 62. I'm going to click OK, close. All right, we're almost done here. All right, so we're good to go. You can go ahead and you can install the server role from here and just click next and select Active Directory Domain Services. One of the features that it requires is the .NET framework that you'd have to install before you can promote this server to a domain controller. We're gonna hit cancel. I'm gonna show you two other ways. We're gonna exit the wizard, click close, close. All right, down here you see this little icon. This is your server manager. If you click it, it'll open your server manager and you can go to roles. And then once you click it, you can go here to add roles and it's basically the same thing. Or you can go from elevated command prompt or even the run um, from the run window, you can type in DC promo enter, and then that'll execute the DC promo command, and it'll start promoting your server. All right, so all the binaries are being installed, as you can see through the wizard, and it's gonna start prompting you for a fully qualified domain name. And then it's gonna ask you if you want to install DNS. So we'll give it a few seconds here. It shouldn't take that much longer. There we go. All right, so you can go in advanced mode. We're going to skip that. We're going to do the defaults. All right, so we're going to click next. We're going to click next. And then here you're going to select create a new domain and a new forest. Click next. All right, so here you want the fully qualified domain name. So then once this is promoted, whatever you type in here is what you're going to type in when you're trying to connect any of the machines to the domain. All right, so what do we want to name it? Let's get creative. Not feeling quite creative today. Let's see. Oh gosh. How about Akron? We'll name it Akron. .inet. All right. Click next. All right, so here's the functional level. And we want to make sure we set it to Server 2008 R2 functional level. Then we're going to click Next. And here's where you can deselect DNS server. If you do that, you're going to get that error because I don't already have it running and it's going to say, hey, I don't see it. And so let's go ahead and click Next. Okay, so here's just telling you, okay, we're about to delegate DNS server. Are you cool with that? You're going to, yes. And here's the database folder. This is where it stores everything on the local drive. Good rule of thumb is that you go in there and you either save it to an external drive or just a different location. I'm going to leave it the same just, for the sake of the video, just to move on quickly. We're going to click next. And then you have to set a password for restore mode. If you ever have to go in and restore the domain for whatever reason, you want to make sure you have a secure password that's not something that can be easily bypassed. All right, once you're done, you're going to click next. Here's just giving you a review of everything you're done. Actually, I'm going to export these settings. It's going to export it as a text file. I don't know why, but run config comes to mind. All of you that have been taking Cisco classes, specifically at the University of Akron, you're told to save your running configuration and paste it into a text file. and every time you configure the router, you have to submit it. And so I don't know why that came to mind, but it did. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and name this uh, DC setup, and we'll leave it under documents. That's perfectly fine. So it's named DC setup.txt. We're gonna click OK, next, and then if you want, you can check reboot on completion. I'm gonna do that because I wanted to reboot, save some time here. Okay, so I went ahead and reboot it. As you can see now, it says Akron, so it recognizes a domain. We're gonna go ahead and sign in. Now, when you sign in, if you go to there's several ways of going to this, but oh, so if you go to Control Panel, for example, or even through IP config, here, well, this is the fastest way. All right, so we'll do IP config /Shaw. And as you can see now, the DNS server, remember how I put in that Time Warner one and it was just some random numbers? It goes ahead and it turns it into a loopback. So that's why now, because we installed the DNS server, it's set to 127.0.0.1. And then that's the IP version 6 number for loopback. And so here's the loopback address. And the reason for that is because since we configured the DNS server, every time you go to do something, it's gonna uh, loop back and go to the DNS and say, hey, you know, do you have a name for that IP address, whatnot. All right, so let's go ahead and move forward. All right, and then I'm just gonna go to the server manager just to show you that it installed Active Directory. So if you expand the roles, there you see Active Directory domain services, and then there goes your DNS. And then you can go further and then start creating records. We're gonna get into that, and I'm gonna do that in a future video, as well as configuration of Active Directory. And I'm also gonna cover migration of Active Directory. If you want to take a container and then migrate it, we'll talk about that. Or I should say, I'll talk about that. All right. So this was it. This is how you promote a domain controller. And thanks for watching.